The laughter started the moment she stepped inside. It wasn't loud at first. Just snickers, low chuckles, the kind meant to humiliate quietly. Then it grew bolder. Someone whistled. Someone else muttered something crude. The teenage girl froze near the entrance of the roadside diner, her fingers tightening around the strap of her worn backpack. She was 17, too young to belong in a place like this, some might say. But the bus had broken down miles away, rain was coming, and this was the only building with lights for a long stretch of highway. The bikers had already claimed most of the room. Heavy boots, leather vests, beards streaked with gray. Their motorcycles lined the parking lot like iron beasts cooling after a hunt. These were men who had lived hard lives and wore them proudly on their skin. Scars, ink, patches sewn onto jackets that told stories most people didn't dare ask about. And then there was her. Small, thin, wearing an oversized black biker jacket that clearly didn't belong to her. The sleeves swallowed her hands. The collar was frayed. The leather was old, cracked, and patched in places with careful stitching that looked almost respectful. One of the bikers leaned back in his chair and laughed openly now. "Hey kid," he called. "You get lost on the way to a costume party." More laughter. She lowered her head but didn't respond. She walked to the counter, each step heavy, aware of every eye on her back. The waitress looked uneasy. "You okay, hun?" The girl nodded. "Just coffee, please." She sat on the last stool, shoulders hunched, trying to disappear inside the jacket. A biker with a red bandana smirked. "That jacket's bigger than you. Where'd you steal it from?" "Your boyfriend." Another one laughed. "Boyfriend? That thing's older than her dad." The girl's jaw tightened. "It's my dad's," she said quietly. The laughter softened for a moment, then returned, harsher. "Yeah," one biker said. "What was he, some weekend rider?" She didn't answer. She wrapped her hands around the mug when it arrived, using it as an anchor. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure they could hear it. The bikers kept talking among themselves, louder now, deliberately excluding her while making sure she heard every word. Kids these days think leather makes them tough. Bet she doesn't even know what those patches mean. That ain't earned. That one stung. The girl swallowed hard. Slowly, she stood. The room quieted just enough to notice. She turned toward them, hands shaking slightly, and pulled the jacket tighter around herself. "I know exactly what they mean," she said. A biker raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah," she nodded. "Every single one." She turned around. That's when they saw it. The back of the jacket. The laughter died instantly. The patch wasn't flashy. No skulls. No flames. Just a worn, carefully preserved insignia stitched in muted colors, faded but unmistakable to anyone who knew. A combat unit patch. Not just any. One that hadn't been issued in over 20 years. One that meant war, loss, brotherhood forged in blood and silence. The oldest biker in the room slowly stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Where did you get that jacket?" he asked. The tone had changed completely. The girl didn't turn around. "It belonged to my father." The biker took a step closer, eyes locked on the patch. "Your father's name?" She hesitated, then spoke it. The man inhaled sharply. Another biker stood, then another. A few of them exchanged looks. No words, just recognition. "I knew him," someone muttered. "No," said another quietly. "We all did." The girl finally turned back around, confusion flickering across her face. "You knew my dad?" The oldest biker nodded slowly. "He saved my life in Fallujah." Silence crashed into the diner like a dropped engine block. The waitress stood frozen. The bikers who had laughed earlier now looked down, suddenly unsure where to put their hands. "He wore that jacket when he rode with us after the war," the man continued. "Never talked much. Didn't need to. Patch like that speaks for itself." The girl's eyes burned. "He died last year." No one laughed now. One biker removed his bandana. Another bowed his head. The man cleared his throat. "Why are you wearing it?" She took a breath that trembled all the way through her chest. "Because he told me, if I ever felt small, or scared, or alone, to wear it. He said the jacket would remind people who had his back." Her voice cracked. "I didn't think anyone would recognize it." The biker stepped closer and gently touched the edge of the patch, as if afraid it might disappear. We don't laugh at that Patch, he said quietly. Ever. He turned to the others. Do we? No, they answered in unison. One of the men who had mocked her earlier stood awkwardly. Kid, I'm sorry. Another nodded. Me too. The girl didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just stood there, overwhelmed. The oldest biker reached into his pocket and placed some bills on the counter. For her coffee, he said. And whatever she needs. He looked at her. You riding somewhere far? She nodded. Home. Or, wherever the bus takes me. He glanced at the window, where rain had begun to fall. Not tonight, he said. You ride with us. Her eyes widened. I don't. Your family, he said simply. That Patch says so. Outside, engines roared to life one by one. When she stepped into the rain wearing that oversized jacket, no one laughed. They stood straighter, and for the first time since her father's funeral, the weight on her chest felt lighter. Because she finally understood something he had tried to teach her. Some jackets aren't about looking tough. They're about carrying stories that command silence.